Hey, I'm Mitch with Keeping the Vows, and today I want to talk to you about parenting. I think two of the biggest things with parenting is parents have different style. One is more strict and one is more lenient. And the other thing too is keeping consistency. And these are difficult things in parenting. I've said I think that the culmination of love between a husband and a wife is a child, and after that, nothing will divide your marriage more than a child. Hey, I'm Mitch, and I'm with the ministry Keeping the Vows, and Kim and I would like to help you to be more Christ-like. Our goal is to help people to discover and maintain a Christ-like marriage. Kim and I did foster parenting, and so we had three foster kids, and we had our own children. I say our children were about 5, 7, and 9 at about this time. And in the foster parenting, they in foster parenting you don't they teach you don't spank foster kids, so they taught us this alternative. A lot of times as parents, we do what they call young adult talk. And that is we talk to children as though they're adults. Like, Johnny, don't run with the scissors because you know that you can, And as soon as you say, don't do this because, we're going with that young adult talk. And you know what? The kids just kind of shut it out. And if you do it all the time, they really shut it out. And sometimes maybe you'll be with people and they got kids and maybe you're together for an evening and there's 30 or 40 times when they tell the kids, don't do this because, don't do this because, don't do this because. But it doesn't make any difference for the kid. They just keep doing it because there's no consequences. So let me talk to you a little bit about consequences. First, I want to talk to you about punishment. Punishment is something that has a negative connotation to it. When I punish you, I do something that demeans you, okay? And so then after punishment, the next thing is a discipline. So if you do something and you deserve to be reprimanded, you might say, then a discipline is just something that you earned, okay? It's something that you've deserved because you've done that. When I would punish a child, I would feel bad about myself, but when I discipline a child, I don't feel bad about it. They just earned the consequence that they're going to get. The neat thing about this is that everything is all level and everybody knows what's going on. The parents and the kids all know what's going on. But before I get to that, I need to tell you a story. You're driving down the highway and you're going about 15 over the speed limit. Why, I don't know. But anyway, you look in the mirror and you see the flashing lights, and all of a sudden your heart rate just goes up, and your hands begin to shake, and you pull over and you're getting everything out, your license and your registration, and they come up there and yes, officer, and everything, and you got to stop and think about it. Why are you so nervous? Why are you upset? Well, it's because the person can give you a piece of paper, which doesn't sound very big, but there's a consequence with that, right? And so when the officer gives you that ticket, he's not discipline. He's not giving you a punishment. He's giving you a discipline or a consequence that you've earned. So if you're going, 15 mile an hour or 29 mile an hour over the speed limit and you get a ticket for that, he didn't punish you. You just got the consequence of what you deserve. Okay. Now, that's one scenario. Let's give another scenario. What if the policeman didn't have a car, he didn't have a radio, he didn't have a badge, a uniform, a gun, a taser, a ticket book? What if he didn't have any of those? And what if all the policeman could do is stand by the side of the road with blue jeans and a t-shirt, and when you go by, he could blow the whistle and say, slow down. How many of us do you think would slow down? Yeah, like zero, right? None of us would slow down. Why? Because there's no discipline, there's no consequence to what we're doing. Well, children are no different. And, we think children don't like discipline. Children love discipline. There's times I think that children strive so much to hear their parents care and they want discipline that they keep acting out hoping that it's going to come, and it doesn't even come. All right? So now we're going to talk to you about the 1, 2, 3 system and how that works. Real simple. Let me just roll it out to you. When a child does something wrong, you just simply say 1. Okay? They do it the second time, you say 2. They do it the third time, you say 3, and there's a consequence. Now, you never raise your voice. You don't pop a vein in your neck, anything like that. You just go 1, 2, 3. Well, the nice thing about this is for the parent that's not a disciplinarian, it helps them rise to the level of doing something. Like maybe you're frustrated, you're cooking, maybe you just got home from work, maybe you don't have the energy to discipline your child. But you can say 1, right? You can say 2. You can say 3 calmly, even while you're doing something else. Well, what about the person that's maybe more of a disciplinarian and they don't like themselves because they discipline too heavy? Well, I used to spank the children and they always said, don't spank your child when you're angry. Well, I'm flawed enough that I could never find a time that I wanted to spank my child that I wasn't angry, right? So I felt horrible about myself when I'd spank the kids because I felt like I got too upset about it. So this helped Kim, who is maybe more like, well, I'll tell your dad when you get home. and then I'd get home and felt like I had to do the discipline. So it helped me not have to come home and have to discipline the kids. It helped her to rise up to the level of disciplining the kids. It helped me come down to the level of doing discipline and not doing punishment. So it made it really good. It also brought our parenting styles together on the same page. Another thing this brings too is it brings consistency, and we all know with kids consistency is key. If you can enact the perfect system, but if you don't follow through with it, it doesn't work. Well, this is so simple that it all works. So let me go back through 1, 2, 3 again. The child does something that that is wrong. You just simply say 1. Now the child has the right to look at you and say, I'm sorry, what did I do? Because there's a 99% chance they know what they did, and there's a 1% that they didn't. So if a child would look at me and say, well, what did I do? And I'd say, well, you talked back to me. And they might say, well, what did you think I said? And I'd say this. And they said, no, I said this. Okay, I take back the number 1, right? But if they did deserve it, then they're going thinking, oh, okay, that's something that I shouldn't do, is talk back to my dad. Makes perfect sense. So you don't yell, you don't carry on, you don't get, escalate things. You just say 1. And when they do it the second time, you just simply look at them and say 2. Now, you think that a child is going to take you to 2 every time, but they taught us in the training that they don't like to do that. And we found that to be true. Our children did not like to take us to 2. So they do it again. So they do it the third time, and you just simply look at them and say 3. Okay? Now, I need to tell you this. If you get a 1 and it's a minute later you get a 2, and a minute later you get a 3, that's cool. But what if they get a 1, it's a minute later, and then it's a half hour later? Is it a 2 or still a 2, or is it a 3? Do you start over with 1? How does it work? Well, you got to work that out, and your kids and you'll all learn where you're at on that. When you get 3, there's that consequence that the kid earned. And what's important is that both parents have the same consequence and that it's fair to the child. By fair, I mean it's not demeaning. It's not something that punishes them, but it's a consequence, and we all can agree that this is fair. So what Kim and I adapted to use whenever her or I got to number 3 with a child was that we had a corner post out behind our house about 300 yards. It was a railroad tie. And so when a child got 3, there was nothing else said. They knew that they were just to go out the back door, run out there, touch that post, and come back. That's simple. And so it wasn't demeaning. If you were at our house and a child got to 3, the child would just get up and leave and come back, and they had done their consequence. And so we had an appointment with the kids, and we explained this new system, and we're going to roll it out. And we said, we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. And we set a date and said, we'll see how it goes. Well, we got back together in a couple weeks, and we asked the kids how they liked it. Well, they all loved it. They all loved it. And so I asked them why, and they said, well, it's just easier because it's all more like this. You're not yelling, this and that. It's like this. But then our daughter, Hannah, said something. And Hannah's a kind person, but she really exposed a flaw in me, and it really exposed a flaw in my parenting. She said, well, I like it because I could do something, an event, something every day, and you didn't care. But then if you were in a bad mood, all of a sudden you would get mad and yell and carry on. Well, now, if I do it every day and you get in a bad mood, you just look at me and say 1, and I think, oh, Dad's in a bad mood today, and so I can't do that today. And more than likely, the next day she would probably be free to do it again, in all honesty. But what it did was it exposed a flaw in me, and that is, depending upon where I'm at mentally, it depended upon how I discipline the children. I didn't know I was like that. Once she explained it, it made perfect sense, and I owned it, and I really, really worked on that. But I could see how that could happen. And you know what? In all honesty, that probably happens with all of us, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Now, one of the things in our house is this is a come-as-you-are party. It was just known from the beginning. So if it's wintertime and you're in your underwear and your T-shirt, one of the guys, you just go run right then. If it's pouring rain, you go run as you are. So if it's pouring rain and you get a number 2, you better think before you get a number 3, because this is a come-as-you-are party. If you're in your pajamas and there's a foot of snow on the ground and you're barefoot, I don't know if you can grab a pair of shoes on your way out or not. It's up to you. But you don't go get a coat, hat, all this and this. It's just a come-as-you-are party. And in northern Indiana, we had some winters. So it just took our home. It took me from feeling bad about my parenting, feeling like I was this as a parent, to feeling I was a much better parent. And it also helped our children too. And not only that, the system is fair. It's fair to everyone. And I think that's important, that it's fair to everyone. So it helped Kim and I to be consistent in our parenting methods. It helped us to be consistent in the way that we did it. It made us both feel better about ourselves. She felt better because she was actually doing the discipline, and I felt better because I wasn't doing the punishment, and it brought our family together. So 1-2-3 Magic. There's books, there's DVDs on it, things like that that you can get. I'll probably put a link to some at the bottom of our blog post. So if you want to go get them there, you can. Just go to keepingthevows.com is our blog. We also have a Facebook page called Keeping the Vows. You can check us out there. Hey, if you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you hit like. I'd really like it if you'd subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And thank you for supporting Keeping the Vows ministry. You have a wonderful day.